Hi, Ron Benning, real estate investment expert. In today's video, I'm going to talk about what I perceive to be one of the biggest threats to California landlords and affordable housing that has come along in California in many years, as long as I can remember being in the business. You cannot afford to sit on the sidelines and let the proposed changes take place. Most people, including many property managers I've talked about this with, don't even know about this proposed proposition that is on the ballot this November. If you want to understand a bit more about this big threat, which is California Proposition 33, make sure you watch this video until the end. If you want to keep up with what's happening in the greater Sacramento small investment market and important changes that are regularly happening, and you're not already subscribed, please subscribe to my channel now. As an investor and licensed real estate broker for over 30 years, I think I'm in a position where I've seen housing shortages, booms, busts, and the unintended consequences of state and local government regulations. And they're often disastrous unintended consequences. Often these unintended consequences are the result of legislators that just don't have a basic understanding of economics or the free market system that they are trying to force these utopian concepts on, however well-meaning they are. A good deal of what I'm about to say is my opinion. I'd encourage you to research and validate or invalidate the things I'm about to tell you. I have a link down below to a nonpartisan analysis of the proposition. You owe it to yourself to understand what this proposition is about and to hopefully help defeat this proposition this November. Also, if you agree with the points I'm making in this video, please share it as widely as possible, because we need all the help we can to make sure this proposition is defeated. There is no doubt that the cost of housing in California has skyrocketed over the past 10 years, particularly for renters. This is the emotional hook that the people putting this proposition on the ballot are using. Before moving on to what the proposition says, it is important to understand how other regulations and laws have already impacted the availability of affordable housing in California. There are a variety of reasons that rents have skyrocketed in California. Some of these reasons were unavoidable, but I believe that the majority of the reasons rents have went up so much are the result of misguided policies enacted through the California legislature and by ballot initiatives. As legislators have made new regulations, many of these regulations have had the direct or indirect impact on the supply of affordable housing. So why are rents going up so fast? Well, one, there's just a shortage of available houses or multifamily properties for rent. High interest rates have made new investment purchases much more expensive, forcing landlords, when possible, to charge higher rents just to break even. The higher interest rates have also made development of new properties more expensive. Building supplies have went way up, in large part due to the increase of cost of gas. Building permits in many local jurisdictions, building permits start at like $50,000, and in some cases, after utility tie-in fees and other fees, can cost well over $100,000 just to get a paper entitlement to build, without even considering the cost of the land and the cost to build the property. Green energy requirements and ever-increasing energy efficiency requirements, and even requiring sprinklers in new properties, have all driven the costs of building a property up to the point where it is not possible to build an affordable house. Some of the relaxed building requirements compared to building a normal home for ADUs are a good example of how these policies have forced the market to try to address the shortages. And it isn't that I'm not for more energy efficient or safer housing, but there's just a point of diminishing returns that we have long since passed. I believe rent control has more to do with the increase in rents than any other single cause. California rent control, which was implemented on January 1st, 2020 as the result of California Assembly Bill 1482. This created a limit on how much rents could go up. This caused two things to happen. The first, it created an expectation of rents going up every year. Secondly, it forced many landlords who would not have otherwise raised their rents to raise their rents each year, because previously landlords who had kept their rents low could still sell their properties, and the new landlord could bring rents up to a fair market value. This can no longer happen under the current rent control law. Now, with this as a background, let's look at what Proposition 33 would do. I've put a link of the analysis by the Legislative Analysis Office, which is a nonpartisan group, in the description down below. Rental housing is expensive in California. Renters in California typically pay about 50% more for housing than renters in other states. And in some parts of the state, rent costs are more than double the national average. We know this is a problem. Rent is high in California because the state doesn't have enough housing for everybody who wants to live here. People who want to live here have to compete against other renters for housing, which increases the costs. But it also is increased because the state has made it so hard to build affordably. I don't believe Proposition 33 is the solution. There is a state law known as the Costa-Hawkins Rental Housing Act. This law limits local rent control laws in three main ways. The first, rent control cannot apply to any single-family homes. Second, rent control cannot apply to any housing built on or after February 1st, 1995. Third, rent controls generally cannot tell landlords what they can charge a new renter when first moving in. Instead, rent control can only limit how much landlords increase rents for existing renters. Under Proposition 33, this law would be repealed. Single-family homes would be rent controlled. This has the effect of landlords selling these properties to owner-occupants, which forces rents up further. New multifamily properties, which are currently exempt from rent control, would be rent controlled. That sounds good until you hear that in a large city in the Midwest that recently did this, that building permits fell by 75%, which made the housing shortage so bad it had to be repealed. Vacancy control is the most dangerous of all of them. Since once a property is behind the fair market value in rents, even if it is vacated, the rent cannot be raised by an amount more than the normal rent control restrictions. This makes renovating older properties nearly impossible when they go vacant for people who don't have deep pockets. The indirect result of these policies can be seen in many rent-controlled cities in the Bay Area, where prices are being forced down, tax bases are falling, and that leads to less public service resources, rising crime, and urban decay. It is for all of these reasons I believe a no on Proposition 33 is needed. If you agree, please share this video with other like-minded people. Whether you're thinking of buying or selling investment property in the next 7 days or 7 months, feel free to give me a call, text me, or let's schedule a Zoom meeting so we can discuss how I can help you have a smooth investment purchase or sale.